we were meant to isolate ourselves. And here we found ourselves in a kind of a situation of house arrest, locked, isolated. When I reflected on my own experiences during these vulnerable times, I would say that I felt anxious, I felt confused, I felt very sad. I found myself often teary, at times very isolated. I felt helpless, I felt powerless. And I did not sleep well at night. Normally I sleep very well. And then I remember the first 2-3 weeks, clients stopped coming here, and everything like was put on hold. Life is slowing down, and we are just finding ourselves in the fog. So very confronting situation, of course. So when I reflect on these feelings, of course, I can see myself very vulnerable. But does it mean that I'm weak? And I would like to suggest that it's very different to say weak and vulnerable. In vulnerability, we all share our humanity, we're all the same. But whether you're weak or strong will refer to how you're coping, how you're facing these vulnerabilities. And I would like to share a few powers that are reflected on and would like to suggest to you guys as something to take home with the idea. This is the goal of this webinar, to equip you with some tools in order to come out on the other side of this crisis stronger. The first power I would like to share with you is the power which I would call relating to the self. So when we are in a state of vulnerability with the feelings that I've just shared, we find ourselves often tend to react to that with one of two ways. We tend to try to avoid or numb it. Sometimes we use alcohol or other drugs, or even just consume television or movies. Or we turn in a way to suppress or resist it or fight it, even judge, even feel bad about ourselves. And these are, of course, not ways that we find that makes us feel more calm. I would like you to imagine something that I do often with clients, and I don't have people there, I don't see their faces, but what I often see with clients in my session, what I say is to reflect on the power of two words, which is the word no and the word yes. So when your body hears the word no, 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 just be aware what the body is feeling when you hear these words no, no. And what happens when your body hears the words yes, 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 yes. The most common response I hear from people when I do that with them is the impact of yes is calming to the body. And in a way, the ideal here is that you will approach that vulnerable part within yourself with this energy of yes. That means energy that you approach, energy of connect. Even now, as you are there listening to me, I invite you to just be aware for a moment to the way you're breathing. Just be aware to the way you're sitting, to the posture of your body. Just this very idea that you are observing your body, you are now in relationship with your body. At the same time, you can notice if there is any feeling or emotion right now, whether any stress or worry or excitement. As you're doing that, be aware that this part in you, which is noticing, which is watching, which is aware of your body, this is what I call the relational you. And I think the best way is it will be helpful to liken it to the internal parent within you that can turn inside and treat the vulnerable you, which is once upon a time used to be the little you, the child, the baby you, when you're most vulnerable in your development. So when you turn inside and you treat that as part within you, as the baby in you, you would like to imagine that you approach that from that perspective as if you are a parent. The relational you is parenting inside. And then when you imagine how you would approach a baby 3 months old who is crying, you would see that the yes attitude is that you would approach that with connecting with it, holding, turning towards it, listening. You would accept that. You would pretty much stay with it. And this is, of course, against our most common habit, which is to go away from our emotional hurts. So what we want is to see this vulnerability is as the baby, the child within ourselves that we want to come towards and hug. And often my clients use the word hug and they imagine the act of hugging inside. And as they close their eyes and just do that, and connecting with that and accepting that as opposed to judging that, something magical happens, but not surprising at all. And what happens is that calming effect on your body, soothing effect. And each time you do that and spend more time and stay with the vulnerability, you discover that something happens and it slowly dissipates or being soothed. So to me, this is I would call it the power of self-love. I know the word self-love is often used in different contexts, but to me, the right way to use the word self-love is when we are turning to that vulnerable side within ourselves with that attitude of yes, attitude of acceptance, enabling and connecting with. So that's the power of relating to self. I would like to continue to the next power that I will share with you. The next power I would like to talk about is the power of intention. And what I mean in intention is to recognize our unique ability to guide our attention and create a future that we want, that we choose. The power of intention is different to our habitual automatic reactivity. It's different to the old habits, to the conditioned us, if you want, the conditioned self. Then when you apply your intention, you can generate different behaviors, different course to your life. And this is when we stop being victim of our circumstances, and we can choose and apply the free will, if you want. How do we exercise the power of intention is by pretty much tapping to our strength and expressing our values. Values are, as the word implies, value is what we value. And what we value is very important, is often, if you want, the projection of the ideal self, of how I want to be in this world. So when you think to yourself, how I want to be even in time of crisis, like that. And I wanted to share what I noticed during this crisis, some of the ways people express their strength and values. And I think they represent to me in a few images that are very memorable for me. And I want to share them with you. And let me just see if I can share it here. Okay. I hope everyone can see that. So this is to me, this doctor is of course famous for being the first one from China to alert the world to this pandemic. And he, to me, expressed immense courage by defying authorities and going public with telling the story. And sadly, as we know, he died in the end. I want to share a quote about courage that I came across by Churchill. Success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. Okay. And that's the other beautiful value which moved me to tears each time I saw that on the television, on the screen or YouTube, is how people express their gratitude to the health workers. And here we are in the platform of Friends of Rambam, which is a hospital in Israel. And we are hopefully doing something to express our own gratitude to the health workers. So gratitude is a beautiful value that often would enhance joy in people and remind us this aspect of life, of humility. I will share a quote here. When you are grateful, fear disappears and abundance appears. Okay, I'll go to the next value. This value, which I call the connectedness. Obviously, nothing like what happened to remind us the importance of connectedness, how we were starved to closeness, like it's the oxygen for the soul. and we were all dying to connect. And this is an image of me connecting with my family during the Passover, and they are in Israel and in London. And on this picture, we shared the Passover here. It was about 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning, and it was a wonderful feeling to connect. Okay, and then the strength of generosity and kindness, and we witness all around us people amazing acts of giving themselves to others. And I've heard some stories in the family of young people going to give their best to elderly who are most vulnerable. And it's the final thing I will share. This is another extraordinary moment in this crisis when we listen to the speech of the Queen talking, and I normally not I don't have much experience with the Queen, and she's not an important I would say symbol in my own life. But when I listened to her, I was deeply moved, and particularly when she evoked the value of hope, when she mentioned the history during the Second World War. So I would like to share with you that segment here, because it was very emotional for me. I hope I'm able to read that without breaking my voice. She said, "It reminds me of the very first broadcast I made in 1940, helped by my sister. We as children spoke from here at Windsor to children who had been evacuated from their homes and sent away for their own safety. Today, once again, many will feel a painful sense of separation from their loved ones. But now, as then, we know deep down that it is the right thing to do. We should take comfort that while we may have more still to endure, better days will return. We will be with our friends again. We will be with our families again. We will meet again." So said the Queen. Okay, I'll stop sharing. All right. Yeah, I think I will continue. Is anything there? I don't know. Trying to say something? Third?
Yes. Hi, everyone.
You're trying to say something to me?
No, no, no. All good.
Oh, okay. All
All
right.
good.
I wasn't sure. Okay. But good to speak to someone in the middle. Right. Um, I will turn to speak about the next power. But one thing I wanted to mention and I forgot, which is the idea of power, what we mean in power. When I looked up at the Google to understand what the way we define power, so power is the capacity to influence on yourself and to influence on others, and or to influence on events around you. And the main word is influence. And when you look at the word influence, it means the word flow in it. So when we try to exercise power, it's coming from flow. And the word in Hebrew, those who speak Hebrew would know that the root of the word influence in Hebrew, it's coming from abundance. So when we try to influence our events or ourselves, we would like to come from a sense of abundance, a sense of kindness, a sense of love, generosity. So it is important to keep that in mind, that when we are searching for power, of course in the positive meaning, not in the form of control, some people may interpret that. So power is in how we influence. So I'll now turn to speak about the last power that I want to raise here, is the power of perspective. Perspective is pretty much to recognize that we have a unique way of looking at the world, and we have the lens, or I often call it the filter, through which we interpret and perceive ourselves and people. And what often happens in cases like a crisis as we've been through, or trauma, these are opportunities to redesign, if you want, the filter, because something very radical happened, and you would like to look at things from different angle, a different perspective. For example, I have one perspective about the younger generation, that my generation look at the millennials and people who grew up on Facebook as somewhat people who are too obsessed with themselves and the look, and some people wrote about the narcissism epidemic. But something interesting happened in this crisis when this young generation actually looked after the parents and came to see life and themselves in a different light. And I believe that one important thing certainly will happen as a result of that is the understanding of resilience for themselves, the way they perceive themselves as being able to cope with adversity, and what they learn about their own strength in coping with that. Because the moment you cope with immense challenge and adversities, you have a memory. You have a memory of how you succeeded and how you coped with that. You have a memory that it comes to an end. And this will boost you as you come to the next adversity in your life, the next crisis. But I would like to just, before I finish, to suggest um, these two filters that I often talk to my clients about. A filter which I call the green and the red filter, and that we would like to keep them in mind and to be aware that in every moment we have this ability, the ability to look through these different lenses. So when you are looking through the red filter, it means that you focus on what I call the scarcity, the losses, the danger, the risk. So it means that you are much more inclined to avoid, to shrink. When you look at life through the filter, the green filter, you are seeking stimuli. Your attention would go after those within you and outside you that can boost your growth, will open opportunity, will create possibilities for yourself. So this is the green. The green is the go, and yes, and the red is a stop. Of course, it's not to say that red is just bad and negative, and we must have red in our life, meaning to alert us from danger. But when you are able to regulate this filter, that it's not automatic, this is where your power is to be able to keep that in perspective, that you, in every moment, you have that ability to see and interpret situations through this filter or that filter. Okay, I think I'll better stop here, and I'll check with you, Vered, whether there are any feedback or questions.
Yeah, I have a few, but I also
Okay.
here on the webinar. I'll let the people please feel free to type in your question and ask Hagai. The first question that I have is how can I share vulnerability if I'm not sure if the other person is be able to respond well? That's yeah, someone asking me that.
Yes, 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 yeah. This is indeed often happens between very close people. And first, let's understand that if the other person is not open to hear or respond well to your vulnerability, it's most likely because the person who listens to that does not access his or her vulnerability at ease. So you want to remember and keep that in mind. But interestingly, you are vulnerable in the very fact that you don't have the person there to listen to you when you need. And if you want to share that, so before you share what you're vulnerable about, you would like to probably share this very challenge that you feel a bit unsure, a bit unconfident that the person is going to listen, and you would like to raise that as an issue, as a relationship issue.
Mhm.
So it will sound like, there are some things that are in my heart I really want to share, and I am feeling a bit worried, a bit, anxious about sharing that. What I need is, I need your open heart to listen to me. I need your open mind.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So not coming in like it's
So,
using the I think and
yeah.
yeah,
To
yeah, it's much
prime the
better.
person, yes, to prime the person that the person can really be open to listen to you. Otherwise you will just go again into the same frustrating response. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I have a question here from Giora. Do you know if those who recovered from COVID received some psychological help? Psychology.
I don't know. Those who recovered from the COVID. I don't think the recovery is to do with the psychology. The recovery must be something to do with the immune system.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any psychological factors to interfere in the process of healing here. Maybe there are, but I'm not aware of.
Mhm. Okay. By the way, feel free either to ask me privately. You can, when you type a question, you have an arrow there that you can just choose to ask me or Hagai. Oh, I have a question in here. Just a minute. Okay. I have a question for someone. How can you feel more optimistic about the future when we are so isolated? This seems to be especially difficult to people who live alone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's very good and tough question. Is that how one who feels low, feels depressed, who feels isolated can lift her energy, her mood? It's not, of course, I'm suggesting a plan of how to, and it's often, it's easier said than done. And I'm here sitting in a capacity of giving guidance or advice. And I'm well aware that when you come to the practice, there can be all kind of barriers within you or outside you to get in the way. And it's a question of what can lift your energy so that you tap into the hopeful side within you. And so I think it's more individual. I would probably explore with this person what things in her life or his life would help to access that hope. Sometimes when I need to do that for myself, sometimes I read an inspirational book or I listen to an inspirational speaker. So they help me with their ideas and help me to elevate the spirit.
Mm.
So sometimes it's if I connect with people that I know they care about me and I feel supported, so this will certainly help me to elevate my spirit. Yeah, and hope is hope can certainly be learned. There is literature in the last few years that did much research on that, and it's something that you can learn the skill of hope, how you plan forward and prepare an action and design a plan to work towards your goals. So it begins with recognizing that you are the agent of change. So that's very important to understand. So if you believe that you are totally passive and victim in this life, it will be very hard to drive yourself into hope, because why bother, why have any dream, any request from life if you are totally helpless and cannot do anything, you know? So you want to come to a place where you recognize yourself as the agent of change, the agent of action. So it begins there. And if you find yourself totally helpless because all kind of life event happened to you, it's a good idea to talk to someone, to talk to a professional, to start and build a different self perception. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe something that's related to the question that's been asked. By the way, guys, we have another few minutes. So please feel free to ask Hagai again as a private, or I have another one. Okay. During the big wars, people were isolated and distressed and had a lot of other problems, but media wasn't there. Why do we have more problems with the young generation today with the skills professionals have?
I didn't understand. Why do
I
we
don't
have
understand the
more?
question. Hang on. During the big war, people were isolated and distressed and had a lot of other problems, but media wasn't there. Why do we have more problems with the young generations today with the skills professionals have?
With the skills professional have?
Yeah, maybe please, the person that asked, can you please be more specific with your question? And I have another thing that was related to another question that was, I think, connected with the previous one, Hagai. What if the pain is unbearable and I can't stay there? My mind is racing. What then?
Yeah, yeah, that's very hard. Yes, this is where it will require a leap of faith. I know this is again, it's for people to just stay with themselves. It's a very common thing with meditation. You know, when you say to people, sit with meditation with yourself, and they only try to sit calmly and realize that their mind is racing so fast that they actually get out of the meditation even more anxious and exhausted, because it's very hard to manage the racing mind. So in such cases, when it's too difficult to the person to do that on himself, herself, I would suggest to do that, for example, as guided meditation, or with a professional that can facilitate that for you, or join a group. that you can do that with others. That's the practice. It's a skill. As I said, you can regard the relational self as a this brain circuits or as a muscle in the brain that you want to hone and train that so that it can be strong, so that you are towards yourself, you are the stronger you as the parent towards yourself, that you can be the holder towards your own emotions and body.
Hagai, we have another question, and again, we are about to end this beautiful session. So please feel free to send us questions, and Hagai will try to answer. What if I live with someone who's very negative and takes me down? How can I get my partner or children act their values?
Yeah, well, that's more kind of a relationship challenge, and it reflects on how you talk. And I would like to take it back to what we mentioned is what is the power. So when it comes to any relationship issue you have, you ask yourself how I influence on my partner or on my children. And my rule of thumb is that the more you try to control, so the more you lose power. And you would like to apply methods that are not trying to control, like punish, reprimand, blame, being angry, and so on. You would like to apply strategies that are, let's call them softer strategies, that are more come with the flow. If you remember the art of influencing is that when it comes from your tender, soft heart, it's more likely to touch them in a place that they are willing to listen and respond to you. And that's the start of the conversation. You know, that's, but the question you want to ask yourself is not how they are who they are, but what is the way you're trying to influence, it's not working. In other words, as I said earlier, to keep yourself as the agent of change and ask yourself what is it you can do differently.
Thank you. Hagai, there's another question here. What, if any, positivities do you feel may develop from COVID-19 individually or as a society, and as a society?
Wow. Yeah, that's a wonderful. That's a very big question. Yeah, just to ask the question is exciting. Yeah, I want to say to everyone, if you leave this talk just with this question, I like this idea because it is this question reflect the two powers we discuss, is like the power of intention and the power of perspective. Because when you to answer that question, you know, you want to go into the power of intention and ask what we can now intend in towards the future as a society. So the obvious thing that people will certainly value relationship and connection much more, and the currency for well-being is not like more material gains and more fun and pleasures, but it's more connection, more quality and more quantity of in relationship to people. So I hope that we'll see more community building. But also I think on a global level, it's very interesting that it's hopefully no longer that one nation can keep all secrets to itself and say, I don't care about the rest of the world, meaning that if such a thing like virus is happening in your country, it's a matter for the rest of the world. So meaning that we cannot silence and hide the truth. So it will be very interesting to see whether the whole world is going to be more hopefully free and transparent and in search for the truth, unlike what's happening in China, sadly, these days. And as I said, on the individual level, you will certainly develop resilience. I believe people will learn to cope with adversity. I'm coming from Israel, as you know, that we have been through wars and suicide bombers and a lot of adversities, and people keep going with their life only to make themselves stronger and more robust in how they cope with challenges.
Hagai, last question. Do you have any practical suggestions on how to come to balance in extreme moments of panic, resentment, fear, and anger? It's sort of similar almost to
Yes.
what we asked before.
Yes. I will say again, the practical suggestion are really like suggestions and their advice. And I know that when you are in the midst of panic and the emotions are running high, it's very, very hard to act on the better you. So what I suggest is that, like when I was in the army, before we go into the war, we did a drill, like training without a live fire. So the best way to train yourself is before you find yourself confronted by, these emotions of panic, that you would like to learn this, as I said, the relational self, to learn to relate to your own body, to recognize these emotions so that you can really be able to talk and connect in a way of what I call the self-loving. So I would encourage people to practice that so that when you do feel the emotions are running high, that you're able to stay with it. And of course, to say to someone in panic, just stay and be present to that, just be present, it's very hard. It's very hard. So, but as I said, they need to spend time in the process of some coaching and training before they can really do that. Yeah.
Okay. I would like to thank you, Hagai, and to remind everybody that this session is just one of other sessions as well that we offer the community under the Circle of Health project. We offer an educational, motivational information and opportunities for participants to interact with one another, and increasing the knowledge and the sense of community, and provide also practical activities to increasing the knowledge and sense of community and positivity, of course, and create opportunity to learn and utilize the resources that are available from local experts such as Hagai, and also global experts from Rambam Healthcare Campus in particular. Now we have practical exercise as well to encourage seminars, meditation, yoga, and cardio activities to bring you of course online at the moment, or it's going to be in personal, and this is to encourage you, the community, to take an action and stay healthy. So thank you.
Thank you, Vered. I want to say thank you for this opportunity. It really was exciting, and I was very anxious, but it was very good to make the intention of giving my gifts to you people and and overcoming through that my anxiety. But
thank you yourself.
Thank you for your trust.
Even though you've been anxious, so you took it to the next level and you create opportunity.
Thank you.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
so thank you. God bless. Have a
Bye-bye.
great week. Bye.